This is the book of History of Modern India by Bipin Chandra. We are continuing with the second chapter, Indian States and the Society in the 18th century. So now this is the third part of the second chapter, and the name of the part is Bengal. It comes under the second chapter, namely Indian States and Society in the 18th century. So let's start reading. This is the second chapter, Indian States and the Society in the 18th century. First part was decay of the Mughal Empire. We have completed it. And second part was Hyderabad and the Carnatic. And the third part was Bengal. Let's start about Bengal. Taking advantage of the growing weakness of the central authority, two men of exceptional ability, Murshid Quli Khan and Alivardi Khan, made Bengal virtually independent. Even though Murshid Quli Khan was made governor of Bengal as late as 1717, he had been its effective ruler since 1700. When he was appointed its Dewan, he soon freed himself from central control, though he regularly sent a large tribute to the emperor. He established peace by freeing Bengal of internal and external danger. Bengal was now also relatively free of major uprisings by Zamindars. The only three major uprisings during his rule were first by Sitaram Rai, Udaynarayan and Ghulam Muhammad, and then by Suhajat Khan, and finally by Najat Khan. After defeating them, Murshid Quli Khan gave their jamindaris to his favorite Ramjiban. Murshid Quli Khan died in 1727, and his son-in-law Sujauddin ruled Bengal till 1739. In the year Alivardi Khan deposed and killed Sujauddin's son Sarfaraz Khan and made himself the Nawab. These three Nawabs gave Bengal a long period of peace and orderly administration and promoted its trade and industry. Murshid Quli Khan effected economies in the administration and recognized the finances of Bengal by transferring large parts of Jagir lands into Khalisa lands, by carrying out a fresh revenue settlement, and by introducing the system of revenue farming. He recruited revenue farmers and officials from local zamindars and merchant bankers. He also granted agricultural loans, bracketed Tokavi, to the poor cultivators to relieve their distress as well as to enable them to pay land revenue in time. He was thus able to increase the resources of the Bengal government. But the system of revenue farming led to increased economic pressure on the zamindars and peasants. Moreover, even though he demanded only the standard revenue and forbade illegal cases, he collected the revenue from the zamindars and peasants with utmost cruelty. Another result of his reforms was that many of the other zamindars were driven out and their place taken by upstart revenue farmers. Murshid Quli Khan and the succeeding Nawabs gave equal opportunities for employment to Hindus and Muslims. They filled the highest civil posts and many of the military posts with Bengalis, mostly Hindus. In choosing revenue farmers, Murshid Quli Khan gave preference to local zamindars and mahajans, bracketed money lenders, who were mainly Hindus. He thus laid the foundations of a new landed aristocracy in Bengal. All three Nawabs recognized that the expansion of the trade benefited the people and the government, and therefore encouraged all merchants, Indian and foreign. They provided for the safety of roads and rivers from thieves and robbers by establishing regular thanas and chowkis. They checked private trade by official. They prevented abuses in the customs administration. At the same time, they made it a point to maintain strict control over foreign trading companies and their servants and prevented them from abusing their privileges. They compelled the servants of the English East India Company to obey the laws of the land and to pay the same customs duties as were being paid by other merchants. Alivardi Khan did not permit the English and the French to fortify their factories in Kolkata and Chandarnagar Chandarnagar. The Bengal Nawabs proved, however, to be short-sighted and negligent in one respect. They did not firmly put down the increasing tendency of the English East India Company after 1707 to use military force or to threaten its use to get its demands accepted. They had the power to deal with the company's threats but continued to believe that a mere trading company could not threaten their power. They failed to see that the English company was no mere company of traders but the representative of the most aggressive and expansionist colonialism of the time. Their ignorance of and lack of contact with the rest of the world was to cost the state dearly. Otherwise, they would have known of the devastation caused by the Western trading companies in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. The Nawabs of Bengal neglected to build a strong army and paid a heavy price for it. For example, the army of Murshid Quli Khan consisted of only 2,000 cavalry and 4,000 infantry. Alivardi Khan was constantly troubled by the repeated invasions of the Marathas and in the end had to cede a large part of Orissa to them. And when in 1756 to 1767 the English East India Company declared a war on Sirajuddaulah, the successor of Alivardi, the absence of a strong army contributed much to the victory of the foreigner. The Bengali Nawabs also failed to check the growing corruption among their officials. Even judicial officials, the Qazis and Muftis, were given to taking bribes. The foreign companies took full advantage of this weakness to undermine official rules and regulations and policies. So, this was the first part of the second chapter, Bengal.